welcome to the Mindset Michele TV show. We're so super excited for you to be joining us for yet another amazing episode with today's extra special guest. And today I have the warm pleasure of introducing everybody to Matt Bonnici. Hello, Matt.
Hi, Michele. How are you going?
It's so fabulous having you on the show today. And one of the things I love about doing this show is the ability to speak to different people in all sorts of areas of life and commerce and industry. And Matt is one of my dear friends from the film and television industry, and he works in the production design side of it. Now, I don't know too much about that industry or that side of work, so I'm really looking forward to Matt. Please tell us a little bit, what does that involve, and how did you come to be working in that area?
Well, production design in film is basically running the whole art department in a film or TV show. Basically, my role, production designer, heads up the art department, and we kind of pick all the sets, all the locations, and all that sort of stuff. Basically, anything that's shot on camera is the duty of the art department, and all the scenery, all that sort of stuff. So how I came about into this world, it's a bit of a crazy world, started a long time ago, I guess, back in high school, like when I studied for the HSC, year 11 and 12. I did the highest level unit of arts possible, visual arts, I should say, where we studied like, elements of architecture and design and that sort of thing from different periods of time, like ancient Greece, Roman times, modern day, Art Deco styles and all that. I'm sure your audiences will be familiar with some of these references. So, did that in high school, did quite well actually in visual arts, which was great. But then kind of after high school, you do those things where you decide, you go, do I follow my heart or my passion, or do I do something which is probably gonna be a bit more safe and secure and that sort of thing? I guess, not unfortunately, but at the time wasn't as confident as I guess what I am now. So I did go down the IT route in the computer and IT world. And, I worked in IT for quite a while. I became a business analyst, which I have been for a number of years, up until recently, on and off as I delve in and out of the film world. But I guess now that I'm at a stage where I'm like, okay, I'm very confident in my design skills, I guess, as a production designer and leading and talking to people, because it is a people kind of role. I am a lot more confident than what I was all those years ago when I finished my HSC. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Oh, wow, how fascinating. And I really appreciate how there was that decision at that point between the heart and the head. And although your passion has naturally been with film and TV and with the design, and I really hear about how when you were studying visual arts at high school, you were thriving, you were excelling in that area. But life has a funny way of taking you down different pathways. And it's in recent years, and you were part of a film, I believe, quite recently.
Yeah, so recently in the last few years we made a independent feature film. Obviously, it's hard getting studio backing and film financing, as a lot of people can imagine these days. But we did make a full feature-length film, which did get critically acclaimed, which was really nice. It's called Streets of Color for anyone that wants to view it. I'm happy to give you a link or anything if you want to provide it later. So we released that last year in 2023, and it actually got some nominations at some film awards in Australia. So it got nominated in the Best Independent Feature category at the AACTA Awards, which is basically the Australian version of the Academy Awards or the Oscars. And we also got a Best Feature Production nomination at the Screen Producers of Australia, which is the Producers Guild of Australia Award. Unfortunately, we didn't win in both of those instances, but it was a real thrill and a real honour to be nominated, because we did make it from about 50 films that were in contention down to 6 in each of those categories. So quite an achievement, which is good.
And for you itself as well, I mean, working and doing all the other, adult responsibilities, if you like, being part of that feature film would have been such an incredible experience and giving you the skills, etc., that I can see that high school Matt really wanting to be a part of and involved in. We've so much kind of, in one sense, the creative side of the film and production, and the other side, the very kind of mental activity around IT business analyst, and having those two sides so lovely and balanced there. What do you think then success now means to you?
Good question. And it might sound cliche, my answer, but I think success to me it really is being able to do what you truly love, like with every fiber of your being, and being paid for it. That's the ultimate goal, I guess, for a lot of people, right? And also, I guess, as a second byproduct of that, but not as important, is at some stage or stages during your career being recognized for your work from time to time. Because, production design, especially in film, it is a very big job, like organizing the art department and organizing a look and feel for a film. There's just lots of work involved and long hours. So, really in love with what you do, which I am, but being recognized for it is just really lovely from time to time. So to me, that's success. Yeah.
I really love that. Of course, there's the financial element to it, but also the recognition that I hear you talking about there. We are so blessed nowadays to have so much computer-assisted CGI, etc. But even besides all of that, that way that film directors do things. I saw some fabulous stuff about the director Nolan and what he was doing in something like Dunkirk with Cillian Murphy, and he didn't just do CGI. He actually got Cillian to be on this boat in the middle of the North Sea or wherever it was. And when they said it's too dangerous, Nolan went out there and sat on the boat himself to prove that it could be done. So that passion, if you like, for creating those memorable moments and memorable scenes, I very much hear it's the job of the person that's in the production design.
Yeah, we're in charge of building worlds. We're world builders, I guess, and that's a term that we use a lot in the industry, world building. We take a script, a story, whether it's for a film or a TV series, and we literally have to imagine visually as we're reading the text or the description of the set location of an interior or an exterior, and those sorts of things. Or it's a fantasy world, or it's a high-tech sci-fi world, and that sort of thing. And being able to just really visually contextualize what's written down on the script, and being able to communicate that vision to your art department and to the director, and obviously the director of photography or the cinematographer as well, the other heads of departments on the film, to create the overall vision or aesthetic for the film. Yeah.
And that's a wonderful way. I love the way that you've brought forward this concept of world builders. I've not heard that before, but it seems to so beautifully reflect the work that the art department does on films and theatre and everything. What tips then, or what elements of that can you then relate to creating a successful mindset? Because creating a successful mindset is building a successful world as well. And I love how if you've got that mindset of being a world builder, then what you're doing is you're building your own world and filling it with your own props and your own scenery. So what sort of suggestions do you have for how people can do that in their own lives?
In terms of world building, that's what you're asking? So in terms of that, I would say, and I'm a massive film freak or a film buff, I guess. I'm crazy about film and all aspects of it. So immersing yourself, I guess, is probably the heading, like a key point for me. as much as possible into that world. So for me, it's watching films by famous directors over time. And this is from all eras. This is from like films going right back to the 1930s, right back to films that were released like the other day. Immersing yourself in everything, in all genres of film as well for me. And taking little bits of pieces, little bite-sized chunks of inspiration, I guess, along the way and putting it in my memory bank for later, right? So getting design inspiration, I listen to audiobooks, to podcasts of other, or some famous, I guess, Hollywood production designers that I look up to, and really hear their stories. And that really helps me and inspires me to go a bit further in my career. You know, visit art galleries. Obviously, I studied visual arts in high school, so that has continued, obviously, as I've grown into an adult. You know, and museums as well, and looking at antiquities and little trinkets and things that might be in museums from different eras and that sort of thing. So fully immersing yourself really in a real experience and immersive kind of way, because film is a 100% immersive experience, and a collaborative experience. Another tip, I guess, is
just before we go on, I really hear when you're talking about that immersive experience, and I think that again, when you're talking about world building, you know, getting the inspiration and the ideas for what is that world. You've so beautifully described it. You know, it's going to art galleries, going and watching movies from different times and different areas, audiobooks and podcasts. You know, it's surrounding yourself. I learned many years ago that it's about the traits of the successful people in the field that you want to be working in. So what was it that made the person that, say, designed Metropolis or Brazil, all of these, you know, classic, incredible, conceptually different worlds that at the time that those movies were created, even Orson Welles, you know, had Around the World in 100 Days, when they created that time machine back in the movies, how were they going to show that concept of time travel, you know, and creating those different worlds? Well, those people would have, you know, studied Leonardo da Vinci's drawings about the first aeroplanes and time and travel, etc. So I love how you've taken it back to accessible areas. Anybody can go to a museum or a library or an art gallery. Anybody can watch all of the different movies that are available through streaming services now to pick any kind of topic, and then immerse themselves in what others have done in that world to help them create that world. So what a wonderful and very practical, thank you, Matt, very practical way to help people that are listening understand how they can be building and creating their own worlds as well.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, exactly. And I guess one final thing, and it's a major thing, I guess, tip is to network with other filmmaking creatives. Like, if you know, I'm a production designer, so I won't just network with just designers. I'll obviously network with writers, with, you know, directors, with cinematographers, all other, I guess, creative technicians in film, right? Because there's an exchange of ideas that happens in person, you know, exchanging of ways of working that may have worked for a different production designer, or an approach or that sort of thing on a particular film. You know, so networking is really an important thing. Going to screenings and, you know, those sorts of events, and just really immersing yourself and creating those networks of other potential creative collaborators or colleagues, I guess. Yeah.
I hear that word coming up for you again about immersing yourself, and this time immersing yourself in that bigger world, not just the creatives in the design area, but also creatives in other areas that are to do with the film and TV world, or the theatre production world. And I think that that's a really, really good and important tip, because if you were thinking about how to make electricity, you wouldn't necessarily just talk to all the candle makers, would you? You'd go and talk to people doing interesting things in other areas. And I'm sure with Elon Musk and people like that who have been huge, or even Richard Branson, you know, he went from record labels to aeroplanes to this to that. if he stayed talking to all the experts in record labels or in the music industry, he may never have even thought about going and buying Virgin Airlines, etc. So I really hear how you're talking about that exchange of the ideas you get from going outside of your world, which can be a bit uncomfortable, but in that same sort of nuance, like the creative space or the musical space or the this space or that space. What would you say has been one of the highlights for you that you've kind of gone, okay, this is, the result of or reflects a lot of the hard work I've done in recent years? Has it been like a premiere or an award ceremony or something that you may have attended?
Yeah, I mean, probably our film that we released last year, like Streets of Colour. So we had the biggest independent film opening at the Hayden Orpheum Theatre, which is a famous classic old Art Deco theatre, for those that don't know, in Sydney. About 600 people came to our premiere, which was amazing. It's normally an Avengers movie or a Marvel movie might get that, but for an independent film, it actually broke their record, which was great. Just getting all the feedback from everyone, and also obviously the cherry on top is really getting those nominations for the AACTA Awards and for the Screen Producers Awards as well. Just getting that acknowledgement and saying, okay, look, me and my other obviously close friends and filmmaking collaboratives that worked on the film, we're like, okay, guys, we got nominated, so looks like we can actually do this. Like we can really do this. We made something that's watchable. It entertained. It actually, well, more importantly, it was emotive. It actually moved people. People saying that I was crying in your film and that sort of thing, right? So, having that sort of thing to back you up in those times where you forget to back yourself and back your skills and experience, and to have that confidence, those things, I guess, yeah, getting the nominations and obviously the attendance at the premiere just made us think, okay, yeah, we can do this. We're a good team and we should explore this further.
And I really hear with what you're saying around, and congratulations, having 600 people at a premiere at the Orpheum is, pretty spectacular for an independent film. That many people will recognise that, without the backing of all the TV stations, the radio networks, that, a Marvel film or something will have a big budget to do when they're releasing a premiere of a film. An independent movie doesn't have that sort of thing. So to get 600 people at the Orpheum is pretty, spectacular, and congratulations. And
thank you.
I also really heard, take that on board. I really heard about the emotive side of it as well that was important for you, that it had an effect on people and they were crying and it really moved them seeing the movie. And I was reminded about what you said at the beginning. What does success mean? And so when I'm asking you about what does success mean, and some of the highlights of what you've done in your field, hearing you then talk about, being recognised for it. So 600 people showed up and put their money and their time aside to be there. Being recognised for it because people were being moved emotionally by it. And then also, of course, the other one that you mentioned earlier, being recognised for it by the industry. It wasn't just the Australian Film Awards, it was also the Producers Guild Awards that you were nominated with as well. So these different types of recognition and a wonderful way. So this is so beautifully presented, Matt, as to what success means, and then sharing with people, well, it wasn't having the IT this or the money that or whatever. It was, I stayed true to my passion and to my beliefs, and it may be when I'm 10, 20, 100, 200, doesn't matter what age it is, my success is still coming through, and I'm sure there'll be many more movies like Streets of Fire and working with your collaborators, which was your other tip for success, about immersing yourself in that world and having a strong group of close people around you. So well done, Matt.
Thank you. Yeah, and you did raise an important point in what you just said, was around, what does success mean to me? One of those important elements was moving people. Obviously, I want to work on films where my design helps this and the story all come together to be emotive and to help strike up a feeling in people, whether it's humor or whether it's sadness or fear, whatever it might be. That's also, for me, look, is another thing that I measure success on as well.
Yeah, yeah. And because I know that you're a very kind and caring person, it doesn't surprise me that it's not just the fact that 600 people turned up at the Orpheum, it's that fact that it had an impact in their lives, and it actually meant something to them more than just going to a movie or going to a premiere, and that's such a lovely thing to do. In terms of how people can get hold of you after today, what's the best way to reach out to you, Matt?
Probably the easiest way, and then if you go there, it's my website, which is Matt Bonnici. So it's MattBonnici.com, mattbonnici.com. And if they just go to my contact page, that has links to my socials, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram from there, or they can just fill out the contact page, and it sends me an email directly if they ever want to get in touch with me as well.
Fabulous. And I guess given some of what we've talked about today and the journey through your life and the different stages and different opportunities at different times, what do you think might be some advice that you might give to your younger self?
Love this question. I guess in my particular field, it would be, excuse me, stick with whatever you're 100% passionate about. I mean, as I said in the start, usually it can be better sometimes to go with your heart or gut rather than what you think might be a more stable or secure path. So I would definitely say to my younger self and give a very stern conversation and say, look, stick with your passions, stick with what's fun for you. It might be hard work, but you really go home and you enjoy. And each morning when you get out of bed, you can't wait to get back to doing what you were doing. So if you find that thing where you can get out of bed and you're addicted to doing it and it just comes easy to you, stick with that, definitely.
So I'm interested in that because you have had a number of years working within IT. So, sticking with the thing that you're 100% passionate about, do you think then that, and I'm just wondering, do you think then that perhaps that's more something that you learnt to appreciate with age? And you may or may not, I don't know, but you may or may not have appreciated perhaps if you were younger?
Definitely, yeah, over the years. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've worked in some really great IT roles in some really great companies with some amazing people that I've, still great dear friends with, and some great experiences. But yeah, over time and a number of decades going by since then, you do look back and appreciate that and the importance of doing something that you really enjoy, because as the saying goes, do something that you love, and then it won't feel like work. So yeah, in hindsight, looking back, it's I have that lived experience of, as I said, going in and out of IT, but always going back into film. I'm always reminded of how much spark is there and how much energy and passion is there, right? And then, you might go back to IT work to earn some money, but every time I went back to film, I was like, yeah, this really comes easy. And I really love it. I love getting up out of bed, at all hours of the morning doing this sort of stuff. So, yeah.
And I think one of the reasons why I'm asking this question is that I had a guest a little while back that, because most people, and it's kind of easier to say than necessarily to do a lot of the time, but most people will say, yes, give up everything, just stay, follow your passion, follow your dreams. And I actually had a guest the other day that said, no, that's not necessarily right for everybody, because sometimes you do need to, whether it's work in IT or work in whatever, to support following your passion. And so it kind of got me thinking, and that's why it's a fabulous opportunity to speak with you about it today, because I think that that's actually probably a bit more true. So that rather than making it necessarily right or wrong, and in your case, working in IT to support yourself while you're doing other things in film and TV, I think it's actually looking at everything. I heard a great expression once about using everything, and that means everything for your life, upliftment, growth, and learning. And when speaking with you, I'm reminded of that because all of that IT knowledge and all of the experiences with people, that would have been part of your growing in your journey that made you the fabulous person to work on. I was going to say Chariots of Fire.
Colour, yeah.
Streets of Fire. Because you brought that more rounded human being is what I was trying to say instead of Chariots of Fire.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you, but yeah, what you're saying there is really important because being in charge of the art department does have a lot of communication and logistics skills and planning and scheduling and that sort of stuff. And I've learned a hell of a lot of that, as you know, over the years as being a business analyst, right? There's a lot of communication and scheduling things and real deep analytical thinking and like rational thinking and all that sort of stuff about stuff. And you can literally directly apply those skills. It might not be IT, but directly into running an art department, literally in a creative sort of way. There's just a lot of more, obviously, visuals and a lot more design elements and that sort of thing and imagination that has to come into it. But certainly those BA skills are a massive, pillars, I guess, foundation for doing all the other operational work that comes with, running an art department.
Yeah, because I think if we were to go to a careers coach and ask them, from IT, BA, what are the kind of career directions? Production set designer wouldn't necessarily be one of those pathways.
Certainly not. No, it won't be in the manual for them.
No,
definitely not. They'll be like, yeah, you can go to be a product manager or a project manager or something like that.
Yeah, that's it. You want to do that. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to kind of point it out, because in today's world, when people are looking at AI and technology and not necessarily knowing what's going to come forward tomorrow and next year in terms of what jobs may be available, I really wanted to kind of emphasize this point, and you so beautifully expressed it as well, Matt, that the skills that you learned while you were doing that type of work were directly applicable to doing your passion work. And I hope people hear this and recognize that even if they're not doing their passion work every moment of every day, that whatever they're doing is probably giving them fabulous skills for when they are.
Exactly, and that's what I guess people need to. In my case, it was very fortunate. I guess it was like hand in glove sort of transferable skills. But no matter what role you're doing, whether it's customer service, whether it's a trade or something like that, and you want to take a field that's totally different that you're more passionate about, some elements of what you do, you might not be fully conscious of it, but will be, transferable across. You just got to look at it from a certain angle sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think going back to that world creators, I really loved that phrase that you talked about, and especially at a time throughout history, there's always been a time where there's different wars and this and that going on. When you think about world creators as opposed to world destroyers, there's actually so much more of a positive and opening up kind of energy. And I never really thought about that with people that create the worlds you see in movies, etc. But when you then apply that to careers and being able to go, well, I want to create my career and create a world somewhere else. And Matt, it's been an absolute honour and pleasure to talk with you today, because you've given us, the audience, so many tools and tips for how they too can do it.
Thanks so much, Michelle. No, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much for asking me to come on and having me here. I hope your audience gets something out of what we've been talking about today. And it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. And to everybody that's watching, Thank you again so very much for all of the messages and emails saying how much you love the show and the tips that these fabulous guests share. But for now, from my heart to your heart, be great, be fabulous, and be you.